Hello friends and welcome to a new Happy Learning video. Oh dear, it seems that this child doesn't want to sleep. And these kids, do they want to watch a video? Yes. Wow, it's so clear. They have communicated it perfectly. When people express themselves with gestures or with words, we're communicating. And people love it. We do it all the time. We communicate with our parents, with our friends, individually, or even within a group. And if we're far away and we can't see or hear each other, well, we will look for another way, a means to do it, right? That's why we invented the means of communication. It's true! Over the years, we have invented some very ingenious means of communication. Smoke signals, light signals, letters, Morse code. There are means of communication that allow us to communicate by voice and hearing. Like the telephones that allow you to talk to your friends wherever you are. Other means of communication allow us to communicate through sight and words, such as writing letters. I love receiving postcards from all parts of the world. But nowadays, we tend to use the internet more and send emails. The internet has undoubtedly become the most important means of communication of all. With this technology, by using a computer, a tablet, or a simple mobile phone, we can write to each other, hear each other, and even see each other, even if we are thousands of kilometers away. A few years ago, this was unthinkable. The media also allows us to communicate with many people at the same time. Can you think of any means of communication that does that? Yes? Well done! Television is a means of communication with which you can reach a large amount of people at the same time. That's why we call it mass media. Other means of mass communication are radios, newspapers, and of course, the internet. Did you realize that the internet is the media that contains all the medias? How cool is that? It's the Media King! The media also allows us to be informed about what's going on in the world. And they can also help us have fun, learn, and get to know things that we may not have otherwise known.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
But we must not forget that the media is just that, a medium, and can never replace direct communication. The media doesn't allow us to hug each other to say, "I love you," or smell the scent of a flower, or wipe away our tears with a caress. They are great tools to use, especially when we're far away from our loved ones, so we can keep in contact. But remember, physical contact is highly important too, as is keeping in contact with nature.
Search us and subscribe to Happy Learning's YouTube channel.
Today, in our series, Great Inventions That Changed History, we're going to get to know the origin and evolution of the telephone. The first telephone inventor was an Italian scientist named Antonio Meucci. In 1854, as his wife was ill and couldn't move, he invented the teletrafono, an instrument which allowed acoustic signals to be sent great distances. This way, whilst he was working on the bottom floor of his house, he could talk to his wife, who because of her illness was almost always in the top floor of the house. 6 years later, he gave a public demonstration and was able to transmit through the teletrofono the voice of an Italian singer.
La 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 la.
But nobody paid him anything for his invention. As Meucci had little money, he couldn't register and protect his invention forever, and he only registered it for 3 years until 1873. In 1876, the British inventor, Graham Bell, took advantage of the circumstances and he registered the telephone, this time more perfected as his own invention. And as he did have a lot of money, he registered it forever. When Meucci found out, he denounced Bell. But because he was so powerful and Meucci was poor and couldn't afford good lawyers, he always lost at court. In 1889, poor Antonio Meucci died without his great invention being recognised. Throughout the years, everyone has unfairly believed that Graham Bell was the inventor of the telephone, until 2002, when justice was served and the United States and many other countries finally recognised Meucci as its creator. In the years since the 19th century, leading up to the present day, the telephone has evolved non-stop. The first telephones were fixed and had a handle to make them work. Then, discs were introduced with numbers to be able to dial. Further down the line, they changed these discs for buttons. Until the first wireless telephones were created, the first mobile phones. The one we can see here in this image is one of the first mobiles in history. One of these old mobiles, with their battery, could weigh up to 10 kilograms. The truth is, they weren't very practical, and that's why they didn't last long and began to rapidly improve. Images were introduced, first in black and white and then in colour. Then came infrared, Bluetooth, cameras, touchscreens, the internet, and then came the smartphone. The telephones of today. The telephone is an invention which has changed history and our lives. But we need to be intelligent when it comes to using them. We can't spend all day with the phone in our hands. We can't be connected to it all the time. Our body needs to go out. To do exercise, we need to see the world and nature with our own eyes and not through screens. We need to smell flowers, the countryside, the sea. We need to hug our friends and truly experience life. And telephones, mobiles and screens will never give us that.
Great! You've completed the video. Now continue the route with the reading card, the video game, and the activity.
Today, in the series Great Inventions That Changed History, we are going to learn about the printer. Well, the truth is that the printing press was not created by a single person. It was something that took shape over many years and with the contribution of many creators, like all great inventions. Although it was Gutenberg who stole the limelight. Before the printing press appeared, books were written by hand and then were copied one by one. Can you imagine having to copy a whole book? As it took so long to copy them and required so much work, the books were very expensive and could only be bought by people with a lot of money. Education and culture did not reach everyone, and most people were illiterate. They could not read. The printing press is a machine that is used to make books quickly. But the first idea of something similar arose in China in the 4th and 5th centuries. The Chinese invented xylography, which consisted of a wooden plate on which a text or drawing was carved. This plate was coated with ink and rested on silk or papyrus. Very clever, but it was very difficult to carve a whole text on wood, and, moreover, few copies could be made because it would wear out very quickly. Hundreds of years later, in the 11th century, also in China, a gentleman called Bi Sheng came up with the idea that if he made the letters in clay, one by one, he could move them, exchange them, and reuse them to write different words. Another great breakthrough! But the system was still not very practical. The clay letters were easily broken, and the truth is that it was not very successful. But in the 15th century, a German goldsmith arrived and created the machine that would revolutionize the whole world, Johannes Gutenberg. He was the genius who made wooden molds of letters and filled them with lead. He made many letters and put them on a support to form the words. He fixed these supports to an old grape press, soaked them in ink and, ta-da! The printing press was born. Now, many books could be made in a short time and much more cheaply. Thanks to this ingenious invention, everyone could learn to read and society became much more educated. Of course, this machine was perfected more and more, and now books come out of much more sophisticated printers, and some don't even need to be printed like those from Happy Learning. But if it weren't for that first printing press made by Gutenberg, maybe tonight you wouldn't fall asleep reading that story you like so much. Has that ever occurred to you?
Search us and subscribe to Happy Learning's YouTube channel.
Living in a village or in a city is a lot of fun. And very exciting. There are streets and pavements to walk on. There are lights and signs so you don't get lost. And there are parks and squares to play in. What fun! Have you ever wondered how it is all possible? Who plants the flowers in the parks? Who empties the litter bins on the pavements? Who lights the street lamps when it gets dark? Well, all this and much more is possible thanks to public services. Public services ensure that people have everything they need to be able to live in a town or city. There are many types of public services. Just think, for example, if you fall off your bike and get injured, where do they take you? To a hospital, of course. There, they have doctors, nurses, and everything they need to treat you. Lucky you! Hospitals and ambulances are part of the health services, the public service that takes care of our health. If you suddenly hear this, it means that the fire truck is coming at full speed to put out a fire. Firemen and policemen are part of the public emergency and security service. Thieves and the bad people don't get along with them at all. Did you know that certain schools are also part of the public service? It is part of the educational services, like libraries and sports centers. Thanks to these services, we children can learn many things, and we can also play sports. I love football. Don't you think it's fantastic?
Yes!
Now, imagine for a moment that there are all these services, but there is no rubbish trucks, no street sweepers, no clean areas. What a mess! It would be a real disaster. Lucky for us, the public cleaning service is essential for the city to maintain it clean and a healthy place to live in. But even though they work hard to ensure we live in a nice, clean area, it is up to you to help keep it that way too, so we can all enjoy it. But wait a minute, come to think of it, who pays for all these things and all the people who work in the public services? Well, we all pay for it with our taxes. That's why public services belong to everyone, and it is very important to use them responsibly, taking care of the parks, not damaging the urban furniture, asking for an appointment in the hospitals. Oops, I'm late! I have to take the bus to go to my grandma's house. Hey, public transport! It's another fundamental public service. What other public services can you think of?
Great! You've completed the video. Now continue the route with the reading card, the video game, and the activity.
Work is any activity that we carry out in exchange for a salary or benefit. From a jobs perspective, society is divided into the active and the inactive or passive public. The active public are those who work in exchange of a salary, or those who are looking for a position in the workforce, but sadly, they aren't achieving it. These are the jobless. The passive or inactive public are those who do not work for one reason or another. They are unable to work. Children, students, and the retired all belong to this population group. Jobs, depending on what they are like, are divided into 3 sectors: primary, secondary, and tertiary. So you understand it clearly, we are going to get to know them through milk. Milk is obtained from the farms where cows are. The farmer milks them and directly obtains the milk from them. This is the primary sector. Then the milk goes to a factory or industry where it undergoes a series of treatments and it is bottled. This is the secondary sector. And then these milk bottles are sent to the shop where they are sold, where we can buy them. This is the tertiary sector. But we're going to get to know each one of them a little more. The primary or production sector are all jobs from which raw materials from plants and animals are obtained. In this group, we can find agriculture, farming, forestry, fishing, and mining. The secondary or manufacturing sector are all jobs that transform the raw materials into elaborated products. Like with wood, for example, there are factories that make chairs. The industry, crafts, and construction all form part of the secondary sector. The tertiary or service sector are all jobs that offer a service to the public. Education, healthcare, entertainment, transport, or trade are part of the tertiary sector. Thanks to the people that work and help their country develop, with their effort and money, countries are able to build roads, can offer schools and universities to students, and they can help the elderly people and many other things. So now you know, study hard so you can work in the sector you prefer. It's the best way of helping society as a whole. Goodbye, happy friends, and don't forget to subscribe to Happy Learning TV.
Search us and subscribe to Happy Learning's YouTube channel.